Out here, food isn't about convenience. It's about function. What you carry has to earn its weight. It has to fuel the climb, settle your stomach, and still taste good when you're hours from anywhere. That idea is what led me to build something I call the 3-bar system. On this video, you'll learn how to make the Kombu Sesame Sea Bar, a savory bar packed full of umami, good for steady energy and mineral balance. I keep the full recipes, sourcing notes, and nutritional breakdowns inside the Cascadia Collective. You can find that at thekiltedhiker.com. So, let's get to it. Hello, James here with The Kilted Hiker. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different in the world of energy bars. This one's going to be nutty, it's going to be savory, it's going to be packed full of umami. It's going to be something that really satisfies that part of the brain. So buckle up. This is my Kombu Sesame Sea Bar, and I think it's delicious. So let's get to it. Yeah, I spent some time this past week doing some testing and developing this recipe. I have this fine gram scale on this side, so I could just mix it 1 bar at a time, make slight adjustments until I got it really dialed in to where I liked it. So now we're going to be using this larger scale and doing some in bulk. And I highly recommend weighing in grams opposed to doing it by cups and tablespoons. It's just a lot more precise when you're baking. So if you haven't made that leap to a scale, highly encourage it. I'll put the one I'm using on my website, as well as all the silicone pans that I like and ingredients. So all that stuff will be there if you need it. Check your pantry first though. You might have a lot of the stuff on hand. But let's take a look back at earlier this week and my state of mind as I toiled over this recipe.
Jameson's log, day 16, 0900. Binding agent appears to be at the proper viscosity. Dew point at 70% and wind gusts up to 3 miles per hour. Preparing for stage 2 hand mash.
So I have my dry ingredients on the right here. I got my wet on the left here. I'm going to start by mixing most of the dry ingredients together. In a bowl, I'm going to reserve the sesame and hemp seeds there for later in the process, so set those aside. So let's get started. I'll just go through each of the dry ingredients as I put it in the bowl and why it's going in there, its nutritional value, and yeah, let's get mixing. So first up here we have this pumpkin seed protein powder. It is high in protein, obviously, it's in the name. It's got magnesium. It's one of the fillers in this recipe, so we're going to be putting in a healthy dose of 96 grams. So you're going to want to measure that out with a dry spoon. It's a pretty neutral powder, so you could use it in savory or sweet recipes. It'll conform to your needs in that sense. So, all right. So next up here we have this brown rice protein powder. It's equal parts with the pumpkin seed powder. So again, 96 grams is going in this recipe. This is easy to digest. It balances the amino acid profile. So yeah, it's pretty neutral as well. So next up is a pea protein powder. This adds lysine for a complete protein source. It's a little more intense in the taste. I had to dial it back as I developed this recipe, just because it had a little too much in it at first. So for this recipe, we are putting in 24 grams. So next up is sprouted oat flour. I eat sprouted oats most mornings, so for this I took my sprouted oats, threw them in the blender and made a flour out of them. Left it a little bit coarse, so it's got a little more texture. But this oats give a slow carb release, so it gives you a steady energy throughout the day. So it's good to have in a bar for sure. So we're going to be putting in 36 grams of this. So this is a kombu powder. Kombu is Japanese for seaweed, kelp. So you could order seaweed powder, kelp powder, same thing. It's got iodine, it's got minerals. Most importantly, it's got umami. So we're going to be putting in 36 grams in this recipe because it's kind of the essence of the bar. So here we go. For sodium and electrolytes, next up is a soy sauce powder. Why is it in powder form, you might ask? Good question. With energy bars, if you want them to be shelf stable, water, moisture is your enemy because water in a recipe will eventually mold. So I've eliminated the water content, I think, all the way in this recipe because we have oils over here, powder over here. So I know that this recipe will be pretty shelf stable. I might also freeze some. I might put some in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers to keep them even more fresh. But as a whole, because I'm using powders, I know it's going to be shelf stable. So this will also kind of tick that umami box as well because it's got that smoky flavor. We're going to be putting in 12 grams of this. So here we go. In you go. For B vitamins and kind of a cheesy, savory note, next up is nutritional yeast. We love this stuff. Sprinkle it over my eggs. Kids put it on their popcorn. It's good. So we're going to be putting in 12 grams of this. Black garlic powder. It's got antioxidants. It's got that kind of a sweet, smoky, delicious, rich taste to it. It's good stuff. So this recipe gets 24 grams of it. For nice immune support, next up is mushroom powder. This, we use a couple of different blends, but this one has, I think, 10 different mushrooms in it. So it's got a lot going on. And we're going to put in 9 grams. Next up is flaxseed powder. So it's rich in omega-3s, fiber. This goes in my oatmeal, usually in the morning. And this recipe gets 6 grams. Okay, so that's all the dry ingredients for now. So we're going to mix that up, make it a nice, fine, evenly mixed powder. Set that aside, and next up on the agenda is to mix the messy wet stuff. So here we go. So first up with the wet ingredients is almond butter. Now this is the main wet ingredient in this recipe. So we're going to be putting in 540 grams. So to put that in context, this has 454 grams in it. So we're going to be using more than one small jar. So make sure you have enough in the pantry for this recipe. So let the mess begin. All right, like the almond butter, sesame seed butter or tahini is also just chock full of healthy fats and adds that creaminess to it as well. So this recipe gets 420 grams of it. These containers hold 454 grams of it. So if you get one of these Whole Foods organic containers, you'd have enough for this recipe. So in you go. And last but not least is a brown rice syrup. Syrup is a natural binder. You could use brown rice syrup in sweet recipes as well as the savory one. I like to have a little element of sugar in there. When you have sushi, that rice has sugar in it. So this recipe has that kombu seaweed element, and I think this will pair really nicely. And it's a quick energy. It's sugar. So this gets 360 grams of syrup. Here we go. So now that I've got all the wet ingredients kind of mixed up, you could heat this over a burner if you want to kind of slowly get it up to a warm temperature to make it easier to mix. I'm going to muscle through it because the next step here is just mixing it into all these dry ingredients, and I like to just get in there with my hands, and I wash them first, don't worry. But I'm going to get in there with my hands and just mash this together for a good couple minutes to make sure everything's blended really nice and smooth together. And we'll just take it from there, shall we? Okay, so I have this pretty well mixed here. You just want to make sure you could press it together, have a nice solid form there. And so the next step will be pushing this into our silicone molds, and we're almost there. Okay, so next step is just kind of press them into these silicone molds. It takes a little time. I'm just going to roughly get them situated in their designated slot, and then I'll go back and really get them into the corners and stuff. So one of the optional items that's not on the recipe, do it if you want. I've been kind of enjoying doing it this way, is to get these little seasoned seaweed snack sheets. Okay, these are perfect size for going into these silicone molds here. Take that, put the mixture in, form it, and after you put your toppings on that you want, which we'll get there in a minute, so don't worry, then you would press this on top of that and freeze it like that, or store it like that, and they just make really perfect little sandwiches, in my opinion, and give a nice texture as well, but optional. Okay, so I have these all pretty well formed into the molds, as you can see. Now we get to top these to preference. Okay, you could put some, what I like to do is just put just a tiny bit of sesame oil on the top, just rub it over the top, and that's going to help stuff kind of bind to it. And then we'll just sprinkle some sesame seeds. Some hemp seeds. Ooh. I like a little heat, so I'm going to put on some of this Japanese pepper as well. Not going to be afraid here. And if you want, you could get the Japanese seasoning mix. It's a kind of a multi-purpose seasoning. It has kelp powder, seaweed, white sesame seeds, black sesame seeds. Yeah, so I might as well sprinkle a little of that on. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and push those into the mold a little bit. All right, so next we'll be putting these into the refrigerator. I'll probably just put them in overnight, and we'll take a look at them in the morning. But yeah, season them how you want. I might finish some of these with, like I said, with some seaweed over the top. It's a nice move, I think. But you do you. The Kombu Sesame Sea Bar should look like yay going into the fridge. This is packed with flavor. It is loaded with nutrition, and it's built for adventure, right? So these are packed full of protein. Each bar has the equivalent protein to like a small steak. So, but it's vegan, so that's cool. They are really calorie dense as well. So when you're out on expeditions or you're doing a multi-day backpacking trip where every ounce counts that you put in your bag, these have the right calorie to weight ratio, so they tick that box. They are high in sodium, so which is fine if you're out sweating and stuff. You need to replace that sodium. But these wouldn't make a good sit on the couch, watch football snack, okay? Don't use these for that. That's not their intended purpose. They are for exploring Cascadia. That's why I'm doing this. And so yeah, we'll touch base tomorrow. We'll see how these look coming out of the fridge, and we'll give them a taste. See you then. The Umami bar. This doesn't have any of the toppings on it. I just wanted to taste the meat of it for this purpose. So here we go. It's dense, it's savory. The umami really comes through. You got the kombu, you got the sesame, you got the black garlic, and on the back end, the mushrooms are coming through. So yeah, it's chewy, nut butter goodness. That'll keep you feeling full, I think. And as a bar that kind of anchors the system here, it's got, high protein and fat content, calories. So I think it'll really satisfy that part of my brain that wants that savory, like especially when you're thinking meal replacement. Yeah, I think that'll serve its purpose well. All right, so we have all the bars prepared and they've set nicely, so now it's time to package them up. What we're going to do here is start with the bar that we'll be eating last in the day. So we'll take one of these caramel ones, just a piece of wax paper here, and what I'm going to do is just fold it over. Then I'm going to take one of these umami bars, place it on top, and roll that over. Tighten it up like that. So we got 2 bars for a little bit later in the day. We will just put those into a small Ziploc bag here. And then we'll take one of these little half sheets here, take one of the morning chocolate coffee bars and roll that up and put that in. So the idea of each having its own little, it's a little bit crumbly. The mice in your camp will be happy. So when you're eating it, you could use the wax paper because we all know hands become petri dishes after a couple days in the wild. So this is kind of nice to just be able to pull them out, keep them from making contact with your hand, and snack away. These breakfast bars just go so well with hot coffee because that brown rice syrup in here and the cocoa nibs just kind of melt in your mouth if you pair it with coffee. So anyhow, we'll take that, put that in a Ziploc. So we got that one right on top because it's going to be the first one you want to access in a day. So there we go. We have 3 bars all packed up and ready to go. What I'm going to do is just put these into a larger freezer bag, so that'll protect them even more. And I'm going to fill this up and just have that ready to go in the freezer. So if I know I'm going out for like a 2-day trip, I could just get in my freezer, grab out 2 of these smaller packs, and put them in my my snack sack. So we'll have everything just easy, convenient, and ready to go. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working away here, and we will see you on the next video.